Good morning, everybody. Hi. Oh, I always have to laugh about the technical difficulties, and I think I figured out why I wasn't seeing the comments. And I set up my iPad here to see if I can watch for comments, and then I don't know. I've got two different screens here to see if that's working, and is there a way of doing a practice live? That would be super handy. Anyways, okay, so today what we're doing, I'm just going to trust that this is all good, and I'm going to wait to see who comes on here and hope that I can read your comments. And if anybody knows of little classes in doing live, like I was hoping to see it on my iPad so that I could have backup for reading the comments, but I refreshed my iPad and I'm not coming on. Anyways, okay, back to the cooking. So, hi, we're live at 11, and I'm a little disorganized because I just couldn't figure out the technological stuff. So we're going to start with onions, and we have our pan here, which we always start the pan with just water in it. I don't usually start off with any oils or anything, I just use water. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make a unusual spaghetti sauce. And so it's going to have, we're going to start off with onions, of course, because it's always really good to start off with onions. And then what we're going to do, we're going to add all kinds of unusual and special things. So the onions, we've spoken about onions before, and this onion peel doesn't want to come off. And we've spoken about onions before, and they're very anti-inflammatory, super good for you for inflammation. They are antihistamines, so if you're having any, you know, real allergy issues, it's been said that you can take the onions and especially the yellow onions work the best for making you cry. So they're super antihistamine, more so than red ones and purple onions or white onions. And so, whoops, if you are having histamine problems, you can just cut up an onion and it'll start that flowing. Like if you're congested from allergies or anything. So it's kind of like a, you know, old-fashioned home remedy. So we're going to get these onions in here, and it really does feel like Mercury's in retrograde, and I don't know if it is or not, but I know that when I really have technical difficulties, usually it means that Mercury's in retrograde. Now, I don't know a lot about astrology. It's just not one of the things that I've studied. I've studied, well, I'm a certified herbalist, you know, studying all sorts of natural health and healing therapies, and homeopathy, Western herbs, a little bit of Chinese herbalism with traditional Chinese medicine, and, you know, bits and pieces as you run across health issues and you're working with clients, then of course you learn along the way new things, new therapies, and then you find yet another class that you want to take, and so it just goes on and on and on as to the different things that we learn as we try and help people. And of course there's food and nutrition and herbs and supplements and everything, and then it also really goes to the emotional and spiritual aspect of whatever it is that we're going through. And so that's really where we're at right now in this whole coming out of the COVID thing. Not that we're coming out, but we're, you know, cracking the door open and exploring life as it's evolving. Let's just put it that way. So a lot of spiritual, emotional issues are going on right now, and not issues, challenges, I'll call them challenges. And so I have a lot of friends, like I work with a lot of practitioners who have a wide variety of gifts and talents in many things, like hypnotherapy, acupuncture, all different kinds of, I should be able to see the comments on here, all kinds of different things that are really helpful. And in the past 9 years, actually almost 10 this year, maybe it's 10, doing the meetup groups and having, hosting, organizing workshops and that kind of thing. And so, so I have a lot of associates that are very professional and very helpful. And so during these times, if you're looking for help, there's a lot of really good people doing hypnotherapy, they're doing meditation, all kinds of different, crystal therapies, all kinds of things. So, I encourage you, if you are having challenges at this time with everything that's going on, be sure to ask for help, because it's really important right now, and very interesting. If you look at it in that way, it's very interesting. So for those of you that are on here all the time, every day at 11, this looks exactly like what I do every single day, almost every single day, but when I make soup or stir fries. So you guys must be so bored of watching me cut up carrots and onions and start with that. But I think it's I think they're good ingredients. I think they're awesome. I think that carrots and onions are like the base of everything. Oh, hi, how you doing? Okay, people are coming on, that's good. So, I still don't see any comments, I just see little hearts and smiley faces. So, yeah, so we're starting off with this on high to get those cooking, because it really just draws out the flavor. The onions and the carrots, I think they make like a veggie broth, and they just draw out all of the flavors. So of course, going back to the nutrients, your carrots are so good for you with vitamin A and all the important things that carrots do for you. And then of course we are going to add garlic. And garlic, anti everything. It's anti everything. Antibacterial, anti-viral, anti-fungus. I mean, garlic can do pretty much anything for you. If you have any kind of infection going on, doesn't matter whether it's a sinus or a yeast or whatever is going on with your immune system, it is really, really handy, and it needs to be, in my opinion, it really needs to be raw. And so you just chop it up. I chop it up really fine, like if I'm using it as a medicine, I will chop it up super fine and put it on a cracker, or even sometimes I'll just nibble on a clove, because it really does work. And so in these times of experimenting with exposing ourselves and going out into the wild blue yonder, it's a good idea to definitely have some fresh garlic handy, and don't be afraid, don't be afraid to use it as medicine, because it really is antiviral. Like one of the biggest things, we all know that, right? For colds and flus, garlic is like, it's amazing stuff. So highly encourage you, if you're not used to using it raw and taking it as a medicine, like a clove, then I encourage you to get to know how to do that. So, and if your stomach bothers you from the garlic, then you can certainly eat something first. But I think the idea is to get that antiviral in your system. So I'm seeing little people pop up, but I still can't read the comments. And I don't know what's wrong. I looked it up yesterday on Facebook to see why I can't see comments. And I don't know if I can go on to my... Am I on live over here? Let me just... Bear with me a minute. That's so weird. I'm not going live on my iPad either. If anyone has any suggestions, that would be awesome. But I can see Jane and Norris and Jane and everybody, and I don't know why the comments aren't coming on. Anyway, I will read them after, and so put them on the Facebook, and I will respond to them after. Okay, so what we're doing here, we're doing this really, really special spaghetti sauce, and I better start cutting up my tomatoes so that I don't fall behind. So this one looks just a little wilty on the top, so I'm not going to use that part. So, and I always wash my vegetables before I put them in the fridge. It's really a great way, it's the best way to save time, is to put your vegetables, wash them before you put them in the fridge, and then when you take them out, they're like super, super, super easy and fast to use. I'm distracted by the lack of comments. You guys are usually so interactive, and I'm like, oh, I can't hear or see what anybody's saying. And I have another phone set up there, and I have my iPad set up there, and I don't know why it's not giving me a live notification. And I tried to set that up before we started, and anyway. So I have tomatoes here. I'm going to put these chunks of tomatoes in, and what we're doing to make this totally different is we are going to, it'll be a plant-based spaghetti sauce. So we're going to add red barley to it for the chewy texture, instead of a, you know, often it will have like hamburger or something like that in it, and so we're going to use the barley for that chewy, meaty texture. So, going to add the tomatoes, and we were talking about tomatoes too with the book from Dr. Michael Greger, that wrote the How Not to Die books and cookbooks. And so, you know, he talks about how fantastic tomatoes are for weight loss and also for menopause and prostate. So apparently for the prostate, it works better if the tomatoes are cooked, like it's more effective as a medicine if they're cooked. And it doesn't really matter with the if they're fresh or cooked for the menopause. So that's very interesting. So we're going to get these guys boiling down, and then we're going to add some very special ingredients. And I'm going to add the boring ones first, okay? Let's just get those tomatoes in there. I have fresh tomatoes, but I'm also going to add diced tomatoes with the juice. So we're going to get that in there. And just to bulk it up, because I don't have enough fresh tomatoes, and so I'm going to add a little bit more. And these are just plain old diced tomatoes. So, and that's also going to give the spaghetti sauce the chunkiness. And of course, we're going to use tomato paste, which I happen to have a little bit left over from the other day. What did we make? Oh, enchiladas. We made enchiladas the other day. Homemade enchiladas with homemade enchilada sauce. So tomato paste, of course, for thickening. We're going to get that in there. And, okay, so that made the little boiling slow down. So for special ingredients, as this gets going here, what we're adding is we are going to add all of the special mushrooms. And so what we have here, I'll just show you. I dehydrated beautiful oyster mushrooms, and they are just looking lovely. So we're going to use oyster mushrooms. I'll grab a couple more. And we're going to use shiitake mushrooms. So the shiitakes are so important for benefiting the immune system. They're really antiviral. They've been used for investigated and really researched for HIV, like AIDS, obviously with the virus energy. And so they're really good for that. They have, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, these are dried. That's what I was going to say. These are dried, and so you can get them fresh. I ran out of fresh, but these ones are dried. And so we're just going to break them up. So they have a super chewy consistency and a little bit of a different flavor. And that dried one didn't look very good. I'm going to pick that out of there. I don't know. It has, you're always, that first one is, it's powdery looking. So you always want to make sure your mushroom looks very fresh, and especially the, under the gills, like super important. If they're, I'm just going to pick that out. This is going to be just the most fantastic video ever. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're going to get the little cloth here. So anyway, you really want to make sure that the underside and the gills look very even, whatever kind of gills you're working with. If they're stuck together, if they're slimy, if you're picking, say like these oyster mushrooms, they have to look really smooth. Now these are dried, so they're not going to look so smooth. But if you see anything that looks like it's eaten and you're picking a fresh mushroom and you know what it is, never pick a mushroom unless you know absolutely for sure what it is. But when you do, make sure they're not slimy, make sure they're not have any bugs in them. Make sure the parts of it don't have anything that looks eaten at all, because you know, the bugs may have laid eggs in them or whatever. And I don't mind a little extra protein, and I don't mind that it comes from a bug, but there could be other organisms within that whole process, right? So there could be little bits of other things that you don't want besides bug protein. So so I'm just putting these shiitakes in here. Like I said, they have a fairly strong flavor when they're dried, like a very earthy flavor when they're dried. They're milder when they're fresh, and happen to have any fresh. So we're going to add shiitake mushrooms, and they've also been used for high blood pressure. You know, you can, it's not very tasty really, but you can make it into a tea for colds and flu, because it is so antiviral. There's another better, I'm just checking them now. There's another better mushroom compound that's really good for the teas and the colds and the flus. And so there's chaga, which is a really fantastic antiviral immune system mushroom. There's chaga, there's reishi, and cordyceps, lion's mane. Lion's mane is really good for memory and brain function. And so there are a lot of ones that they come together in a powder. I don't happen to have the jar here, but you can buy it at the health food store, the mushroom mix blend, and that is really tasty because I think they've added and combined the reishi and the chaga, which gives it a more of a sort of a coffee substitute taste, which is good. Because in my experience, shiitake straight up are just not that flavorful. It's a little medicinal tasting. So these are I'm going to add a few more of these beautiful oyster mushrooms that we picked. And they are, if you haven't picked oyster mushrooms, they look like little oysters. They're usually on a rotting maple or alder or something. And they should be white, smooth, and beautiful looking. And so we got a bunch last weekend, which is super, I was so excited. And so I dried them. See, there's another one, so pretty. And so this is, the oysters taste like, they're very mild, like for someone that doesn't eat meat. They taste like steak. Not quite the same as a portobello. Portobellos have a very steak-like texture. So the oysters are not quite that meaty, but they're really, really nice if you haven't tried oyster mushrooms. And you can buy them fresh at most grocery stores too. So the exotic ingredients so far are the shiitake mushrooms, the oyster mushrooms. Oh, we're going to add some regular criminies. And so the criminies are just regular mushrooms, kind of, sort of. Apparently, criminies are mini portobellos. And I've read a few different articles on that. I'm cutting the stems off because I'm just not too much into the stems, or I can just pick them off. And so the criminies and the portobellos, oh my gosh. Oh, I forgot to tell you about the oyster mushrooms more while I'm thinking about it. I've just realized I didn't finish my thought process there. So with the oysters, they have been used. They are so immune enhancing and health providing. They have been used to clean up chemical oil spills. Like, they just absorb toxins and they transform them or transmute them. And so they do the same thing in your body. They, of course, you're not going to eat the ones that were used by science for that. You're going to pick fresh ones from the forest or buy them at the grocery store or your local mushroom supplier. Anyway, they do that in the body. They clean the body. So they're a great cleanser, detoxification. You know, if you are exposed to any metals that, you know, like, or chemicals, like if you worked, well, my husband works on cars. So there's a lot of I don't know, chemical bondos and not specifically bondos, but, you know, paint and all that kind of stuff. But like if you worked at a salon and you were using maybe not so healthy nail chemicals and or hair products or anything that you do that exposes you to toxic chemicals. You know, you could work in a place with, you know, we've got so much Lysol happening right now, or whatever that is, antibacterial chemicals, that that these oyster mushrooms will actually pull out the damaged cells. It'll pull out the toxins. It'll pull out the metals. And so if you don't know oyster mushrooms, I encourage you to do that. And, you know, I haven't seen them sold dried like that, but I think it'd be a great market for it. I don't know how new those studies are that I researched on how healthy they are for you, but it really should be used that. So now I've noticed that the little, you know, go back button has come on, and I'm still not seeing comments. Sorry to distract, but it's very distracting. Okay, so we have our mushrooms, we have shiitake, we have oysters, we have criminies, we have a cutting board that's a little messy. Oh, I forgot the celery. Okay, how can you do spaghetti sauce without celery? You just really can't. So we're going to stick that in there. It will cook down. Actually, it'll add crunch since we're not adding any meat to it. It will add crunch until it's cooked. Okay, that's probably enough. We'll just get rid of this extra tomato juice, right? Just like that. There we go. Okay, so the other fun and exotic ingredient, not really exotic, but it's really fun anyways, is I have collards in the garden still, and so I'm going to add the collards, but I'm going to add them at the end. I just wanted to tell you that they're a great source of vitamin K. Oh my gosh, they've got all kinds of things, thiacin, niacin, all kinds of wonderful things, the collards. So I'm going to add that, chop it up fine. You won't really notice it in the spaghetti sauce, but it'll be chopped up fine. The other thing I'm going to add that has amazing health benefits is the seaweed. And so the seaweed provides the, I'm going to pull it out with a spoon because I want to get my tomato hands in there. So the seaweed is another one that is super helpful for radiation specifically, right? It's really good for the thyroid. It's really good for the, it balances the thyroid. And it's really good if you have had any, try and get it out of here. I might have to, I've got a pair of scissors. I'll use that. La la la. Yeah, so it balances the thyroid, and they've used it against radiation for anybody that was affected, like in Japan for the radiation issue a few years back. And pretty much any seaweed is really beneficial for you. It's full of trace minerals. Like seaweed has minerals that you just don't get anywhere else. And so it has the really fine trace minerals, you know, not just like calcium, magnesium, those kinds of things. And so, oh, this was a kombu seaweed. And then this one here is, it's that red one that you can find in the grocery stores, like in the fish departments. And they sell it sometimes as a snack, kind of, you know, like instead of eating popcorn. And it's got a really nice mild flavor. And then I'm going to give this a little stir. There we go. And then I have this one here, which I gratefully was gifted by my brother-in-law, who goes way out to the ocean. And so this is just regular, I don't really know what that, I can't remember the name of the regular seaweed that we just get that has the bullwhips on it. It's escaped me, but that's okay. So we're going to put that in, and this will also eliminate the need for some salt as well. So because the seaweed's very salty, and so we're going to add that to our spaghetti sauce. And then I'll cut this one up because the kombu is very leathery. And but any seaweed that you can get, just make sure if you're going to collect your own, that it's not in a place where there's chemicals or waste. You know, you want to make sure it's a super clean area. And pretty much all seaweeds are edible. All seaweeds are super good for you. If you want to know an expert on that, of course, Ryan Drum is the seaweed expert. Absolutely, for sure, for sure. You can look him up. Ryan, R-Y-A-N, and then Drum, D-R-U-M. But Yarrow Willard and his wife Angela, that they own Harmonic Arts, they teach seaweed classes too. I think she does specifically, and just beautiful, beautiful people, beautiful information and knowledge. Like, I think she's the seaweed queen. And so look at this. Does that look like spaghetti sauce or what? No, it doesn't at all. Okay, so that's awesome because it's going to taste like it, but it's going to be way healthier. The other thing I'm going to add is a little bit of smoked paprika. Not too much, about ½ teaspoon. And I have picked yesterday fresh oregano, and with a couple of grass things in it. And so that's going to be our oregano. I am going to dry some, and I think, you know, you guys should definitely be looking at gardening during these times, because I don't know, you know, what the future or the winter is going to bring, but it's probably highly beneficial for you to try and grow some of your own food and some of your own. Probably would have been better if they take them off the stand. Here, I'll go like this. Oh, that works. Yeah, so try and grow your own food and your own herbs if you can. I'm going to turn this down a bit. It's bubbling a little more than I want it to. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. I don't have ADD. So, anyways, back to the mushrooms. That's what I was going to say. I finished with how all my rant on how beautiful the oyster mushrooms are and how beneficial they are. But the criminis, which are like the little mini portobellos, they have a lot of vitamins too, and minerals and selenium in particular. And they have, all mushrooms have something called chitin, C-H-I-T-I-N, and it's not really digestible. And I can't remember the actual chemical analysis structure thingy of it, but anyway, it's not easily digestible, and so all mushrooms should be cooked. That's my point. I don't remember a lot of details that I don't care about. I just remember what the point is. The point is, don't eat your mushrooms raw. And they do serve them raw in a lot of restaurants, and I've certainly eaten my share of them. But apparently, it's not going to hurt you or anything. It's just that you're not, you don't digest the chitin, and some people with digestive issues might be sensitive to that. I sure wish I could see you guys' comments. If anybody has any idea what's going on, that would be super awesome. And I thought, I am going to say, I shouldn't keep going back to it, but it's really bothering me. I set up the iPad and Daniel's phone on my Facebook so that it would come up and so that I could just watch it, but they both timed out and shut down. Do you guys have that problem? Like, I don't understand why it just didn't go onto my life. Anyway, okay. Oregano. There's our fresh oregano in the spaghetti sauce. Okay, we added the smoked paprika. We're going to add, which we usually often add, turmeric, because why wouldn't you add turmeric to it? You should really, well, you shouldn't anything. You should never listen to what somebody says you should do. But it's beneficial if you add turmeric to your food every single day. Turmeric, anti-inflammatory, it has the curcumin. Everybody knows how fantastic turmeric is and pretty much what it does. And of course, to activate the turmeric, it's always helpful to add some black pepper to it. And then speaking of pepper, I'm going to turn this down more. Speaking of pepper, I'm going to add some cayenne too, because I want this spaghetti sauce to be spicy. So, fairly spicy. And so you can see, it looks nice with the oregano. And then garlic, granulated garlic. I'm going to go with like a tablespoon, quite a bit. We're going to add some apple cider vinegar. This is the one with the mother, and so the apple cider vinegar is really good. So that's like just to balance with the acid from the tomatoes. So that was like 3 tablespoons or maybe 2 tablespoons. And then we're going to add another secret ingredient, and just a tiny bit of molasses to it. If I can open it up. It's always so fun playing with molasses and opening it. So we're just going to add half a tablespoon of molasses. Just gives it a little bit of a, something that people can't figure out what's in it. And I always love doing that. It's so fun. The other thing we're going to add is, to balance out with the vinegar and the tomatoes, we're going to add a little bit of coconut sugar. So this would be, for that amount of tomato sauce, I'm going to say, because it's not really that sweet. The coconut sugar has a really earthy taste. It has a very, it's not sweet, it's just earthy. So you can use quite a bit. So I'm actually going to dump 2 of these in. So I'm going to say that's probably 1/4 cup, which sounds like a lot, but it's not very sweet. Okay, we'll get rid of that molasses and stir that in. And I am going to add nutritional yeast, which I do a lot. Oh my gosh, I'm going way over time. So nutritional yeast is, it adds a little bit of a cheesy flavor, and I don't want it to taste too cheesy in the sauce, but you can sprinkle this over your spaghetti sauce and your spaghetti if you're having this over like I'm going to be using gluten-free spaghetti noodles, but you can use spaghetti squash or whatever you're going to put it on. And you can sprinkle this on instead of cheese. And it has all the B vitamins, really good for you. It's good for the digestion, beneficial for your gut biomes, you know, with the fermented yeast, nutritional yeast, right? Oh, there we go. Last thing, the barley. So this is going to give it the meaty texture, and this is actually a purple barley. That's not a regular rice barley, so it's way better for you because it has the shell of the barley. It's like, kind of like a whole grain rice where you've got the outer shell. It hasn't been pearled off and taken all the vitamins off the outer part of the grain, so it's really whole grain. This is from Wayne's here in Port Alberni, Wayne's Grain and Milling, Vancouver Island Grain and Milling, that's the name of it. And so this purple barley is also, because it's purple, it has all of the antioxidants, almost like a goji berry. Goji berries have all the antioxidants and I can't remember, but anyways, red cabbage has the same thing, and this purple barley does too. So your purple things, all your purple and red things. So we're mixing that together. If you can see the barley in with the nutritional yeast, in with the medicinal and edible mushrooms, and so we want to make sure those mushrooms get cooked. So I'm just going to leave this on to simmer for the day, because I know the ingredients are so good that it'll be okay if they're a little cooked. Usually when I make my soups and my meals, I like them like tender, crisp, almost raw, barely steamed. And in this case, we are going to let this cook down, because you can see the chunks. You can see the chunks of the mushrooms are really quite big. So that is the spaghetti sauce. Doesn't look much like spaghetti sauce right now, but as it cooks down and those tomatoes will start to come down too, it'll look more or less chunky. No, it'll look less chunky. You can see the carrots are big bits too. See with the oregano there. I just can't help it. It's so pretty. I have to keep showing it to you. It's a compulsion. So, my gosh, we've gone way over today. Salt to taste, and that's about it. I was just going to show you one more thing. I'm going to, maybe I'll show you tomorrow. Yeah, I'll show you tomorrow. Anyway, here's my plantain. I'll show you real quick. This is the broadleaf plantain. We talked about plantain last week, and we did a plantain salve making information, and so anyway, I did find a beautiful broadleaf one, and I wanted to show you, because we worked with narrow leaf last week. And if you want to find that video, you can go to georginacyr.com or my YouTube channel. And thanks, you guys. It was really fun. And so if you see me going on and off Facebook Live today, trying to figure out how to get the comments back, hopefully I delete them before you see them. Okay, everybody, I know it's a little rainy out there, but have a great day. It was awesome to have you on. I can see all your beautiful faces, and I will shut this off and run to the computer and read your comments right away. Okay, thanks for joining me. Have a good day.